Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Mountain Musings. I know it's been a couple of weeks since I last posted. We went to Lubbock and spent a few days there. What we thought was going to be just a very quick turnaround eye appointment stretched out into a week where we had to take care of a variety of things. So we spent a week in Lubbock, and then fortunately for us, my daughter, my adult daughter, came and spent a week with us in Cloudcroft, where we enjoyed a bit of vacation and family time together. Uh, One of the things that I've discovered is that dealing with adult children is extremely pleasurable. You get to engage with them in a different level, more like engaging with peers, and you find that your adult children are really a lot of fun, nice to be around, and you get to talk to them about different things. So we spent a very pleasurable week, just relaxing and chatting with one another and enjoying the quiet environs up here. And Candace got to charge her batteries before she plunges into another college semester. So it was a very pleasant week. All in all, a good time. Today, we're going to talk about another character trait of a good husband. And this one, we're going to focus on how we use our tongue. This is episode number 7. And I want to start off with the scripture in Proverbs 15:4, and it says, "A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the spirit." Proverbs 15, verse 4. I spent 27 years in the Army. And one of the things that we do in the Army that is very common is we harass each other verbally uh, all the time. And in fact, if you go on the veterans' websites, you will find that uh, even after we get out, and I've been out for a long time, we still harass one another. We put each other down. There are certain groups that receive a lot of put downs, especially second lieutenants. And I remember as a second lieutenant really being annoyed at some of the things that I had to put up with verbally. And in fact, in the Army, you develop 3 very distinct skill sets. Number 1, you develop a very thick and tough skin. You just learn to ignore a whole variety of slights and insults. You just, whatever. Number 2, you develop a rapier wit. You learn how to employ your tongue with great dexterity, and you learn how to exchange put downs very adroitly. And number 3, you develop a very professional shell in which you show no weakness. You never let any chink in your armor show through. You stand up and you're always professional. You always look good. And by doing that, you hope, you pray that you can turn off some of the verbal harassing that you would otherwise receive. Now, these 3 skill sets, while extremely useful in the Army, great for survival, great for promotion, and at times great for leadership, uh, they serve no useful purpose in marriage. Christy does not thrive when I put her down. There's an old saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." That's just a lie. Words, especially in the relationship of marriage, words deliver psychic blows that sometimes stay with a person for life. And when I talk to Christy, I need to make sure that I do not use my tongue to harm, to hurt, or to put down. I need to build up. I took this picture a couple of years ago here in New Mexico. It's a delicate little flower that blooms during the spring and summer here. And it's beautiful. You can see it's got little dark purple ribs on the kind of pinky violet leaves. It's delicately constructed and it's easily crushed. You have to pay attention if you're walking, if you don't want to crush them. They're small, and as you can see, they're low to the ground, uh, and they're very, as I said before, they're very delicate. If it gets too hot, they wither, uh, but they thrive in the cool, moist shade and mountain air. Recently, when Christy and I were cutting down trees, she wanted me to be careful and not uh, crush the flowers. And at first, I got to admit, uh, oh, really, rolled my eyes. Uh, but after a few moments, I tried to meet her desires and take care of the flowers. I share this with you to say that your relationship with your wife is like this delicate flower. It needs tender care, not tromping big feet or heat or lack of water. So when we think of our relationship with our wife, we need to think in terms of this delicate flower. We need to think in terms of how we care for, how we build up. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29, we read, "Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouth, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." Ephesians 4:29. When I josh my wife, even if I'm not serious, I'm like a big heavy foot that comes down and crushes the little flower. And I need to use my speech carefully. I need to think of how I can build her up. And for guys, this can be a challenge. We, especially those of us who are in the working world, we get used to the rough and tumble, the verbal thrust and parry of the male world, especially the male work world. Like in the Army, you work in an environment in which we prize the ability to give a quick response and put down. You need to think carefully before you bring that habit back into your house. We need to build up. We need to use our speech to fit the occasion. And the occasion of our marriage is a close, intimate, nurturing relationship. And that can be kind of a bit difficult for us. I know it's been difficult for me. There have been times in which I said something and I could see by the look on Christy's face, oh, I said the wrong thing. So think of your wife's spirit as a beautiful, delicate, and gentle flower. So when I speak to Christy, I need to carefully consider my words. Interestingly, Paul uses the phrase, "let no corrupting talk come out of your mouth." In English, the word corrupt or corruption can mean decay or rottenness. So is my speech causing decay and rottenness in our marriage, or is my speech building Christy up and strengthening her? In Proverbs again, we read, "Like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, I am only joking." Proverbs 26:18 and 19. And this is kind of interesting. The writer of Proverbs here is talking about neighbor relations. But in my marriage, am I saying one thing publicly and then telling my wife, oh, well, I was only joking? If we do that, if we persist in that habit, we should not be surprised as if the house of our marriage burns down around us. Uh, because what we're doing when we kid our wife and then say, well, I was just joking, honey, don't take it so seriously, then we are effectively hurting our wives, and we're causing wounds that we may discover erupt later on in the collapse of our relationship. Human relationships are tricky things, and they need care and nurturing, not things that tear down and hurt. Paul reminds us that we should love our wives as we love our own bodies. Now, here in America, we're not particularly well known for our physical fitness. That's just kind of not what we're known for. In fact, sadly, we're known for galloping obesity. But as Americans, we are spending an increasing amount of our income on healthcare and beauty products. One of my nephews runs a fitness center, and I myself make sure that I eat properly, try to eat less, that I get some exercise every day, go out and walk, do some push-ups and sit-ups, stretch. I take the medications that I'm supposed to. I go to the dentist twice a year and then go to the eye doctor at least once a year and the physician once a year and more often if I need it. But I take care of myself. The question that I want you to think about is, do you lavish the same care on your relationship with your wife as you lavish on yourself, on your physical body? You see, relationships take work, they take effort, and they take time. So do we care for our wives as we care for our own bodies? Paul points this out, and I find it very interesting. Apparently, in the Greco-Roman world that Paul lived in, men took care of themselves. They got whatever passed for exercise. They tried to eat well. Uh, Fundamentally, as humans, we haven't changed. As the writer of Ecclesiastes says, there's nothing new under the sun. So I ask you to consider, what kind of care have I lavished on the relationship between me and my wife? Give that some thought. When I think of the marital fitness regimen that I should apply, I need to consider this following scripture. Let there be no filthiness, nor foolish talk, nor crude joking, which are out of place, but instead let there be thanksgiving. Ephesians 5:4. You and I need to stand apart from our current cultural norm of just kind of crudeness. Uh, our speech should be elevating, especially our speech directed toward our wife. So we need to stand apart from what our culture tells us to do. We need to be different. And that implies that you and I need to be gentle in how we treat our wives, how we speak to them, remembering that, as Peter says, they are a weaker vessel. Women just take things like kidding differently than men do. As I mentioned, we need to stand apart. We need to lavish love and care upon our wives. Instead of putting them down or treating them with disdain, we need to become their biggest cheerleader, the one who is in their corner, especially when they face problems in the world. Many of our wives work outside the home, and the workplace is pretty rough, pretty tumble, and pretty harsh. So we need to make sure that our home is an arena of safety. Our relationship is that safe place our wives can run to. They know that they are safe with us. After all, we're supposed to be like Christ. And Christ is our great defender. He encourages us. He lavishes love and care for us. He laid down his life for us. And we should do the same. We should lay down our lives for our wives. We need to be their great defenders. So when we think of how we use our tongue, I need to speak to Christy very differently than I speak to my old Army buddies, or my brother, or my fellow Christian men. We need to use our tongues, especially in the marriage relationship, to build up and not tear down. If we do that, then we'll find that we are being the good husbands that our wives need us to be and want us to be, and we'll be more like Christ, more like the men that God has called you and I to be. Staunch defenders of our wife, men who lavish love and care with our speech on our wives. I hope this has been useful to you. If you want to see some questions, check out the comment section below. I will post them there. If you want to read the printed version of this, go to the webpage. I've also posted the link there. And as always, please leave comments. Give me guidance and direction on how to make this a better tool for you. Thank you for your time and have a good day.